Hi everyone and welcome to SWPL My Story, and today we are joined by former Dundee United manager Graeme Hart. How are you, Graeme?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Thanks for having us on.
No, not at all. Appreciate you taking the time to come on and speak to us. So when I reached out to you, the news had just broke about your departure from Dundee United. So you're probably in a good position now to reflect on the job that you've done there, and I think it speaks for itself. We're going to go into it in more detail, but it was a fantastic job that you done under the circumstances with the team that you were putting on the pitch, and you still done really well. So. You went in, you were already in the club for over 5 years, and then you were 3 years in charge as manager. So, just overall, how can you reflect on your experience there and the success that you had?
It was obviously a brilliant time and probably my best time in terms of being involved in football and stuff. And um, I've initially got obviously Gav, who was the manager before, and he brought me to the club and then obviously kicked on after he left. So him to thank for obviously kind of my success was kind of originally down to sort of him bringing me in. So it was great from that aspect. But on the whole, it's been obviously, I think I kind of said this when I left, it was a roller coaster, that's for sure. And I think most people within the game and will say the same in terms of not just from a personal point of view or a club point of view. I just think the game as a whole has been on such an eventful journey over these past 5 years, and obviously to be involved in that, it's been a privilege, obviously. And I think now since stepped away, and I'm probably my own biggest critic at times, and really harsh on myself. And even within the players, and I'm always the first one to look at myself and where we can improve and where I can improve. But having stepped away, and I think the amount of messages I've got, I can kind of walk away with my head held high and actually be quite proud of what we've achieved, given the limited resources and the circumstances. So, yeah, now I've kind of stepped away, kind of reflected back a wee bit. It's still a wee bit raw. This week will be probably tough with no training and stuff, and actually having time to do what I actually want to do with my life will be a bit strange, I suppose. But yeah, I think on the whole, kind of reflecting back, it's probably proud, and we've done really well, and if anything, probably overachieved.
So there's different levels of success across different clubs, and we're going to go through that a little bit. But probably the one that would jump out to anyone looking in from the outside was the success in SWPL two, and winning that league and getting yourselves up to the top flight. But how was that season? Because the seasons that then preceded that, it was a different challenge, and if anything, it could possibly be considered an even greater achievement. But having there and getting that silverware, was that something that was maybe your highlight?
Um, you've obviously got the medal and winning a trophy is obviously what everyone wants to do when they're a kid, whether it's playing, coaching, whatever it is. And so obviously having those memories of winning stuff is something nobody can ever take away from you. But from an achievement point of view, that was probably the 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 most comfortable season. You're winning every week, and you've obviously got good. Listen, that's a really tough league, that SWPL
Yeah.
too, and like I think it's the only league where the bottom team in the world where the bottom team could easily beat the top team from week to week. It's not like unheard of. It happens on a regular occurrence. Whereas even in look at SWPL one, it's very rare that the bottom of the league would beat top of the league. So the competitiveness in that league, it's crazy how competitive that league is, and for us to go on such a good run, and obviously we only lost one game after we'd won the league, was impressive. But I think from an achievement point of view, it probably wasn't the biggest achievement. But I think from a obviously enjoyment point of view, it was certainly the most enjoyable, and it's easy to enjoy it when you're winning, I suppose, and you're winning every week. So yeah, from an enjoyment point of view, it was certainly the most enjoyable season. And it didn't have as many challenges as the sort of following seasons had. So yeah.
Yeah, so I just like we were saying there, it's all comparative. So when you then got promotion, you were fighting within the relegation places, but got a really good run together and secured safety with a few games to go. And like what we were alluding to, we were speaking just off camera before we came on. That was could probably be considered from like your perspective as the manager an even bigger achievement when you're in against all these full-time teams, the amount of money that's been getting invested, and then you are still stepping up to the plate and making sure that you're securing your SWPL one place for another season.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that was obviously a big challenge, not just for myself, but even for a lot of the players. A lot of players we had last year had played SWPL one football maybe 3-4 years before that, or even a couple of years before that. But how quickly the investment came in, like Rangers Celtic, for example, and just took the game to another level. And I think we all found it challenging to try and keep up. And obviously, we're not talking about keeping up with, but just in terms of keeping up with the league and how fast the league was moving, and the players were amazing. And they helped me along the way, as I say, and I've got a lot of them to thank for that as well. And again, we tried to build a team that was competitive, and I think you seen that last year, and we more than held our own, and there were some good results followed by some bad results, and I think that's probably the thing that we probably struggled with during my time on the top league, is finding that consistency. On our day, we know we could compete and do really well, but on an off day, and I just think that's the competitiveness in the league, and that's how ruthless this league is. If you have an off day, then teams are going to punish you. And for it, I mean, we probably had the lowest budget in the league. I don't know exactly how other teams' budgets were, but even like the Hamilton and Glasgow Women last year, they've probably got a similar budget to ourselves, but they're in the Glasgow area, so it's easier to recruit players. So again, even that recruitment process of trying to get players in from teams, and it becomes challenging when you're on the phone and all you ever get are the travel. And I'm like, it's not actually that far away, but I get it as well, because it can get, especially during the winter. So that was probably one of the most challenging aspects in terms of trying to get players in that were up to the quality. And like, we did have players that done the travel last year and this year, and it's obviously kind of try to reward them as well, which becomes difficult when you've not got a big budget.
So after securing your SWPL one status and going into this season, it was a massive turnover of personnel, which would have probably made it difficult as well, losing key players, bringing players in, trying to bed them in, but also hit the ground running as well. And it did take some time, but particularly coming up in and around the Christmas period, you did put a good run together, and it gave a bit of breathing space, and moved you up the league and distances from those relegation places. So I think from my point of view, when you've at the point that you've stepped away, you've left the club in a really good place, and they've got everything that they need and should be able to perform to maintain that status again.
Yeah, this season it's certainly been my most challenging in football. We lost key players for various different reasons. We lost that top scorer, who I think she was top scorer in the league last year, and
Yeah.
she goes full time at Hearts, which is brilliant news for us, and myself personally, to have said that I've helped someone on their journey to become a full time professional footballer. So from my aspect, really pleased with that. We lost Eve Donald, who was probably one of our best defenders last year, and she went to Motherwell. It's literally on her doorstep, so she wasn't having to travel an hour and a half to Dundee and then an hour and a half back. So again, things like that. And then we lost a few players to Montrose, because Montrose are paying more money, and you can't compete with that as well. And that's part of football. So we did lose players throughout, and then players moving because the travel time's less, or because they're getting more money elsewhere, and that's part and parcel of football. So it became a real challenge for us to try and sort of get replacements in. Obviously, I was quite early with the recruitment in terms of bringing certain players in, and we've done really well in terms of that. But also, kind of part of my journey, and I've got a lot to thank, is the managers at higher up clubs helping me out with players. Eva at Hearts was great, Leanne Ross at City, and Bran before he left Celtic. Even Brian at Partick in January giving me a player as well. So building up the partnerships and relationships with these kind of managers has really helped us, because I think we've got 5 on loan just now. And it was part of the model we had to go down, in terms of we couldn't compete financially. So we had to give younger players an opportunity, whether that be our own younger players or younger players from other teams that we can help develop. And I think other teams see the way we try and play and we try and build and we try and coach and make training as intense as enjoyable as well, but getting the balls out. But yeah, I think this season with the injuries as well. So I think we had 11 or 12 new signings during pre-season just without goings. So that becomes a challenge to get them gelled right away. And we start the season okay and get a good result against Hibs. We then beat Accies, and then Megan gets injured and we lose our other keeper during pre-season as well. So we're then left with no goalies. So for the foreseeable future, we're going through goalies like they're going out of fashion. So I think we've been through more goalie tops this year than we have the whole time at the club. So it became challenging from that aspect. And we ended up using 7 goalies in the space of, I think it was 13 games or something like that, which is quite remarkable. So by the time obviously it departed, we'd used 7 goalies. I think it was 17 new signings in total, if you include January and the start of the ones, and then we averaged playing 5+ teenagers every game. So I think when you look at that and you kind of evaluate and you think, wow, we've actually done really, really well to go and compete, and it's a real shame because I feel the girls are going to go and kick on now. They've kind of eventually settled, and I think you'll see between now and the end of the season, I think you'll see a real different Dundee United and a real hungry Dundee United with the kind of settlement. Even like the last game, the girl Ailey we brought in from Hearts, she's meeting the players for the first time at the game against Hibs. So it's been challenging throughout the whole course of the season, and this year in particular has been the most challenging for me personally. But again, the players have been absolutely amazing, and without the players, and there wouldn't be a Dundee United. They've sacrificed so much, and like we're getting back at midnight on Wednesday night, and you've got players up at like 5 a.m. for work the next day. It's just mental, the sacrifices they make, and but from my own perspective, I think when you look at it, promoted from SWPL 1 and SWPL 2, sorry, and then 10th last season, and left the team finishing 9th. Really, really happy, and you even compare results compared to last season. We didn't take any points off the top 6 last season. We've taken 1 this season. We took 3 points off of Spartans and Aberdeen from 4 games each last season. We've taken 3 from 1 each this season. So again, a lot of progression there. Accies, we took 6 from 12 last season. We've taken 3 from 6 this season. So again, on track to match that. Motherwell's the only team that we're probably not on track to match or beat our totals from last season. We took 4 from 12 last year and we've taken 0 from 6 this year. So not to say we couldn't, but again, Motherwell's the only team that we went on par to match results-wise or performances-wise. And then obviously, I think when you see Montrose replacing Glasgow in the league, I think Montrose have been excellent and a real good addition to the league and how competitive they've been. And the second game, we're obviously 2-1 up with a minute to go and end up losing it 3-2. So, yeah, that was a sore one. But again, that's part and parcel of football, and kind of said this to a lot of people. And we don't have any right to just turn up and think we should be beating any team in this league because it's that competitive, and the investment from other clubs and not even investment. You take a Spartans, for example, who are sitting a point below Dundee United in the league. Spartans have been in the league 15 years or whatever it is, however long they've been in, and they're an established team with some top players. So for us to just think that, or us to even contemplate thinking that we just need to turn up and because we're Dundee United we should be rolling over, I think is completely wrong, and I don't think that's the attitude the players have, or that's the attitude we had as a group of staff. So yeah, I think we've done really well, and I think going into the remaining games, I think you look at the players Dundee United have got, and yeah, I've got no doubt that they'll be absolutely fine, and they'll go and finish the season really strong. But it will be a real interesting competitive finish to the season.
I think something that we discuss on here all the time, and the reason why we're here is about the story behind the story. A lot of people that follow the league will just look at the results and think, oh, that's a bad loss, that's a heavy defeat, they should be doing better. But when you find out there's in total 17 new players coming in, there's outgoings, there's however many injuries to contend with, 7 goalkeepers in 13 games. There's so much goes on you can always associate that with performances, and then, as you said, when things started to settle down, you could see the form starting to change, playing with confidence, playing with a settled team, and managed to get those points on the board to give yourselves that buffer to the relegation zone. So, for what it's worth for me, I thought your time at the helm at Dundee United, you've I wouldn't say overachieved, but you've done extremely well, and you would have probably hoped and expected that you could achieve that, but actually executing it's a totally different thing. But I think you done great there. So I know it's very very fresh, but is the intention to get yourself back into coaching? Would it be remaining in the women's game, or would it be moving into men's or boys or anything along those lines?
I'm not. I've had my phone's been non-stop with messages. Unfortunately, not as many job offers, but yeah, it's been great with the amount of messaging and stuff. Definitely want to remain in the women's game. I've kind of coached in both, like I coached in the juniors and stuff as well in the early days. But I think when you look at the standard of the women's game and the way they like, it's more technical, in my opinion. I think it's more enjoyable in terms of the sort of the reward in terms of from players and how grateful they are for you as well. In terms of I think it works both ways. Where I think in the men's game it's a bit more just depending on obviously the level, higher up the level you go. But yeah, I've coached them both, and I generally prefer the women. So looking to obviously stay in that side of things where that is as an open book at the moment. It's obviously kind of came out of the blue and unexpected for myself. So again, we just need to wait and see what happens. I think obviously it's been nice to just have a bit of own time, and on Sunday managed to take in 2 games, no stress, no worrying about team selections, formations, or positions, anything like that. So that was quite nice for a wee change. But again, I think as time goes on, I'll probably miss that aspect of it. But don't mind where the next opportunity is. It's just obviously finding the right one for myself. And the biggest thing for me is the ambition of clubs. It has to be an ambitious club. I think realising that now in terms of where we see ourselves, and having plans for the future, and actually going and putting the plans in place rather than just say we've got a plan. Actually, let's go and put a plan in place. Let's go and do it, rather than we're going to do this or we're going to do that. Let's go and do it. So that would be the biggest thing for me, is finding a club that's actually going to match the ambitions, and actually go and really take either their club or their team to the next level. And that might even be an under-18s team. That might be anything. Do you know what I mean? But for me, wherever I end up, it's got to be an ambitious place, where they might say, well, you need to get us here, and this is the resources we're going to use or give you. So I think that's the biggest thing for me, is finding someone that matches the same ambition to get to the next level. And yeah, that's probably where I'm at the moment. But I'm sure I'll just enjoy watching as a supporter of the female game at the moment, and as a supporter and sort of fan, and I'll go and support the girls between now and the end of the season. And I've got full confidence in them. I said that to them, that they'll go and get the job done this season, and then what happens after that, we just need to wait and see.
No, that's great, Graeme. And yeah, you definitely go and enjoy some stress-free football over the next couple of months on a Sunday. But thanks so much for joining us today.
No bother, thank you, thanks for having me.
And thanks everyone for joining us on SWPL My Story.